So September 11th was a pretty awesome day for me that morning. Beautiful day, skies were blue, went to work. I had a dream job at the United States Pentagon. And for somebody that's from the New England area originally, when you go and tell your buddies back home that, yeah, you work at the Pentagon, that's pretty cool stuff. But when you're down there in D.C. area, you say, yeah, I work at the Pentagon. They're like, big whoop, I work at the White House. So it's not so much the effect, but boy, what a special spot to be able to contribute to your country. And so I was installing data networks in the newly renovated section. And that morning, Bobby Shelby, who you met in the video, and we got together and we mapped out our day, where we're going to be going. And so around 8:30 in the morning, I had a conference call, and that delayed me. You see, sometimes being late for the right reasons is okay. And so that delayed me. And so then this woman that I spoke with called me back not too long after that. And she said, Dan, did you hear about New York? And I said, no, what happened? And she said, there's a plane that flew into the Trade Center. And I'm like, in New York? What a horrible accident. Do you remember when you first heard that? And then as we talked, she said, Dan, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, oh, what's next? And she says, a second plane went into the other trade centers. I'm like, wait a minute, one's an accident too? We're at war. Oh, nuts. I'm in the defense capital of the world right now. Probably not the spot that I really should be. And so I did what probably a lot of you did. I hung up with her and I called home. And I talked to my dad and I said, Dad, I just want to let you know that it looks like our nation's at war. And he was like, what? Really? What are you talking about? Tuesday morning, you're calling me? This is pretty odd, Dan. No, Dad, serious. I'm not kidding. Look online. Don't worry, Dad. I'm in the Pentagon. It's a fortress. It made it through the Cold War. I'll be fine. As I'm trying to convince my dad, I'm trying to convince myself. Have you ever been in that situation where you're trying to convince others of something you believe in, and you end up trying to help yourself as you're doing it? And so I hung up with my dad, and that was nearly the last time I spoke to my dad. It was up on the 5th floor of the Pentagon where cell phones worked because the walls were so thick. And Bobby and I reconnected, and we headed down to the 1st floor. And as we were going down to the 1st floor, Bobby asked me if I could take a smoke break. I don't smoke, and he does, so I said, sure. In between the B and the C ring, there's an open area where vehicles drive in because the building is quite large to make deliveries. And so at that point, Bobby lit up his cigarette, and I had a clipboard in my hand at that time, and that's how I started my book, how a clipboard and a cigarette saved my life. You see, as Bobby lit up, I flipped open also my cell phone browser, and I started reading about New York. And I was like, geez, Bobby, what's next? The Pentagon? 3, 2, 1, boom, the blast went off. It picked Bobby and I up and threw us a good distance, and then we were knocked out. The building came down on top of us. By the grace of God, I was able to flip that clipboard up and save my face. And so when I came to, I saw Bobby. He was cut up pretty bad, but he was alive, and I was alive. I took a breath in. Take a deep breath in right now. Go. And then release. There is something so precious about that. And I learned it at that moment. And then I moved my left arm. I couldn't feel it, but I knew I was alive. And so we got up and we went to the center of the courtyard of the Pentagon, and then we were being hollered at, saying, go here, go there. And then somebody yelled right to me, you've been hit, you've been hit. I'm not in the military. I was a contractor there. I had no idea what it meant. I looked down and I realized I was covered in blood and soot. And that's when the pain just started to hit in. And so after that point, Bobby and I had gotten separated, but we ended up reconnecting back in the triage area. We talked earlier about the value of time. We talked about be worth. When I was laying there, I was seeing people running up saying, where do I donate blood? Where do I donate blood? Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to learn from a terrorist attack. You don't need to survive one to learn from one. You can donate blood today. You can reach out and make this world a better place. just from this experience that I'm sharing with you now, because you can make an immediate impact. And so show that worth, show that value so that others can see it. And we can create this value of a better tomorrow.